Welcome back, guys.
Hey.
I brought two friends, Kave from Pleasurecraft and his manager Milo. Please welcome. So, as we already started before, I thought it is nice to bring some more friends to show their story and their developing as artists. You know, Kave is like a multitasking talent covering underground but also mass potential scene, I can say. Huge success with releases, label business, like actually everything. So first of all, after the introduction, you can, as always, ask questions. Think about that. I'm sure you can get like a lot of positive feedback on these. Such as Milo is handling Saved, for example. He's dealing with Nick Fanciulli, Mark Fanciulli, Davide Squillace. So I think it could be an interesting chemistry having this also artist management kind of situation. Maybe you want to start a little to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Kave. I'm one half of Pleasurecraft. My partner Kale is based in Stockholm. Pleasurecraft's a production duo. It's not a DJ duo, so he kind of stays there, and we kind of started in the beginning just sending files back and forth. This was 2007, and kind of just got lucky with Tarantula in 2010. And that kind of opened a lot of doors for us to a lot of great labels and working with a lot of great artists. And then, you know, this guy started managing me about 2011, 2012?
Yeah, about two, three
yeah,
years.
after all the hard
ago.
work was done, you know,
Yeah,
he came
right.
to, you know, put his hand in the pie.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so here for you guys to ask whatever.
Milo?
Hi, I'm Milo. We have a company called Club Class Music Management. We kind of run, we look after about 12 artists now, kind of worldwide management. We also run a label management service that we look after and service labels, you know, like the back-end distribution deals that kind of artists don't really want to handle, that we just let them get on with being A&Rs. So we kind of run Saved, Craft Tech. You know, we manage artists like in the company. We kind of have Nick Fanciulli, Joris Vaughan, Pleasurecraft, Davide Squillace, Harvard Bass, and then we also kind of have a more commercial side of things where we have guys like DJ Chucky. Who else do we have? Headhunters, who's kind of the big hardstyle DJ and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. And obviously been working with Kave for about 3 years now. So yeah, anything you guys want to know?
Interesting to maybe also speak about is the situation between the American and the European scene in general. Because like you are very familiar with both.
Yeah.
And you grew up with both in a way too.
Well, you're kind of, you know, you're one half of it really, because Kale is from Stockholm and you're from DC, so
Right.
we're kind of both meeting in the middle there, I guess.
Yeah, but as far as, I guess you mean kind of like the touring stuff and the sound right, difference, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a difference. I remember some interview just recently was asked about this, where, you know, something that I would play in a certain market in Europe, I would not necessarily play some of those tracks if I was playing in the States. Of course, there's exceptions to that rule, like El Paso, Texas, because it's all Mexicans, and Mexicans are, you know, just such huge fans of electronic music and underground stuff. So I can play there anything I would play in Europe, but if I go to San Francisco, or, well, San Fran's not a great, but like Philly or something like this, I mean, I'm not going to play the same records that I would play, you know, in Ibiza or in Berlin or Barcelona or whatever. Not that it's a completely different set, but it's just part of, I mean, all you guys, from what I understand, are all experienced DJs who are trying to get to that next level.
Right.
And it's all a part of reading the room and reading the crowd, and it's one of the first things that every DJ should be able to do. And it's just, after you start touring constantly, you kind of get a feel for, okay, yeah, I remember how this kind of was, and I can't do this really as much as I want here, or I can really take risks at this venue because I know like the crowd is up for anything. I mean, some crowds, you guys know, I'm sure, like a hi-hat comes in or a kick comes in and it's like an explosion. Other crowds, I mean, you just have massive breaks and drops and they're all looking at you like, what? So it's you know, and some of that stuff is country specific too, like even within Europe, and for every DJ their experience is different. Like I was with Nick a few weeks back here and we were just talking about like maybe I shouldn't say this. Let's just say there's a market that he doesn't really like playing in that I love playing in, and vice versa. And it's just kind of about like knowing like what that crowd kind of is up for, and kind of, you know, obviously you're not going to play only to the crowd because you're there as an artist and you've earned a reputation, which is why they booked you. So you have to stay true to the reason that you're there in the first place. I would say that's the most important thing, but obviously the club booked you because they think they're going to make some money on that booking. And if you go there and you don't read the room at all, then it's kind of like you're only playing for yourself and you don't care at all what the crowd thinks. And there's a happy medium in there, and you should never sell yourself short, but you know, there are definitely big differences between markets. Like, I'll throw myself under the bus. Like in Holland, is anyone here from the Netherlands?
No.
Yeah. For me,
very political.
the Netherlands. Yeah, I'm gonna get killed on this
no.
online. Like, there's a lot of great artists from the Netherlands, but I'm not the only DJ to express this sentiment. But the Dutch people, just generally speaking, don't go as crazy. But the Dutch people will be like this for 3 hours, and you'll be like, man, God, they hated me, everything. And then they'll come up to you, amazing set, changed my life. And you're like, you didn't even dance. Like, so it's just, a lot of that stuff is just very cultural as well. You know, some cultures are just much more expressive than others are. It doesn't mean that they're not necessarily enjoying it, but it could also mean they're not. Anyway, that's my too long answer.
Transition, yeah. I like that. Questions so far? Yeah, I know it. Yeah, please.
It seems like you can play different styles for different occasions.
Not completely, but yeah, within a range.
Within a range, yeah. But I'm curious to know that how come you can? I saw you at a flyer at Ushuaia with the Avicii. So you kind of get booked to
what?
You never get rid of this.
So it appears you're playing both underground, but also more profile, big commercial. How do you get booked to different genres? Like those are really.
Yeah, but I don't play. When I played that show, and that was one time, right?
Yeah, I mean that was.
Yeah, explain yourself. Why didn't you take that booking?
Yeah, Milo.
So the thing is, you can kind of, and the way I see it is that you get to a certain level that people are going to expect to, you know what to expect to a degree when they come and see you, you know, and all doing a show like, you know, what Avicii might do to what we kind of do is completely different musically. But if we can kind of find a happy medium where both artists kind of work on the same bill, then the way that you kind of look at it is that you've got 9,000 people in front of you that are listening to you play what you as an artist are going to deliver to them. And all that kind of does is open up new audiences to what you would, you know, these guys that are going to see Avicii would never normally kind of go see, maybe they wouldn't go see techno artists, maybe they wouldn't go see kind of tech house artists. But if they're kind of on the same bill and they get to kind of explore the lineup musically, then maybe that kind of opens a few doors for them. Maybe you kind of gain some more fans, and I think ultimately with a lot of this EDM stuff, that it is kind of a trajectory where people kind of come in at the top level of a lot of the EDM stuff and kind of find their way and down to kind of the nitty gritty techno stuff, and it all feeds each other, you know, like even as far back as when David Guetta first started kind of getting really big, you know, a few years later you see all the techno guys kind of start playing a lot in places like America where they were kind of struggling around that time. And it does feed all the way down because people kind of start to educate themselves and start to get a little bit deeper into it. And I just think that there are certain opportunities that, you know, sometimes it doesn't kind of work, sometimes it works. But at the end of the day, if you kind of can make some new fans and connect with some new people, I don't think it's a massive deal as long as it doesn't kind of compromise the strategy of what you're trying to do overall.
And to be fair, I mean, the reason that they were like, we want to book Pleasurecraft is because they wanted a tech house opener, not an EDM opener.
It's no different than when Carl has Andy C play for him. You know, he'll have a drum and bass DJ come and play, and they'll kind of explore different things musically, because it doesn't have to be, you know, if you just have one club night that's just EDM music the whole night, it's not going to make any sense. And if you just have someone that's playing techno from start to finish, it's not going to make sense again. So you sort of need to explore musically a little bit with, with booking shows and doing lineups and things like that. And I think that's sort of part of the fun of Ibiza, that you get these lineups that are a bit diverse and that kind of are a bit different, and you see how people kind of feed off each other.
Can I just add?
Yeah, sure, whatever you want. Free.
Wherever you guys go from here, whatever direction you go into with your careers, and hopefully all of you all will have success in this industry, there are definitely things that I've done, whether it's releasing a certain track, releasing on a certain label, or playing on a bill with somebody. There are definitely times where I wish I had not done that afterwards. So it's, sometimes you just got to do it to kind of learn and say, okay, I did it, next time I can't. And sometimes it's not necessarily the gig and how the gig goes that determines whether you shouldn't have done it, but it's the fact that 2 years after I played that show, you're asking me about it, and I haven't played with any artist like that. And it's like, it's not, I'm glad you brought it up because it's a good topic, but it's like, you have to kind of think about the steps that you're taking and how it's going to be perceived by promoters around the world and clubs around the world. And Philip and I, we've had in the past, just being honest,
sure.
we've had a history of where Philip thought I was one thing, I knew I wasn't.
Exactly because of the same reason, actually.
Exactly.
Because he was playing in Austria as well, like a major show.
Yeah.
Because of the same reason, actually, with Avicii once, and your records were different, and you had the desire also to show your real side of music. Yeah. And I actually didn't have the time to really get this and realize this, and I was also putting him into that corner, while actually he doesn't belong there at all. And it took me actually quite a while and some really long emails. Thanks.
Yeah, no, not just that. I mean, it's taken
until we
us.
found our balance.
Yeah, I mean,
it's taken us. Yeah, like Milo, me, my booking agency, us, just the tracks we make, the labels we're on. I mean, you kind of have to, once you feel like your image is not what you think it should be, and people have a misconception of what you do. I mean, that takes a lot of work and effort to recalibrate that. On a global scale, and we've been fortunate that we've been able to do that since that time, and I'm really happy with where things are and where things are going. But for sure, I mean, that was like a thing where, are the points Milo made about playing to a group of people that would not necessarily experience that music and gain new fans, 100% true. But at the end of the day, it's also that type of misconception. Was it, you have to decide, was it worth it or not, So, anyway.
Thank you.
But I'm here now, so we're all good.
See? Question? Yes?
It's like a basic question for every producer in this industry. What kind of software are you using for making music, and what additional hardware, if you use, would you recommend?
To be honest, a lot of the stuff that we do is not external hardware. A lot of it is in the box and software synths. Things that we use a lot. Everyone associates us with this vocoder sound, but that's Antares Vocoder.
Yeah, I know.
It used to be Steinberg voice machine back when 2005, 6, 7. But for the last couple of years, it's been Antares Vocoder. We use Massive a lot. Hardware-wise, we have Machine, we have Virus. Not really a lot.
And
Of, oh, we have the Prophet.
The one that you will recommend, like
To
hardware.
buy.
Yes, I think because
Hardware
nowadays
wise or software wise?
hardware.
I mean, I would say Virus is just so
Yeah.
versatile.
Just as I thought.
Yeah. You can do so much with it, and we do so much with it. I would say hardware-wise, that's probably the most essential piece in our studio.
Great, thank you.
Guys?
Can you please explain how you're working in the studio? Do you guys meet up or do you send files and
It's a bit of both. So when we first started, we only sent WAV files back and forth because I was on Logic on Mac and he was on Logic 511, which was the last PC version. So we were just sending WAV files back and forth. And then after a while, once Tarantula came out, we were able to, we worked like that for 3 years. And then after that, we were able to actually meet up in Stockholm. We'd spend several weeks at a time together working on tracks. And then, you know, at that point, we were both on Macs, on Logic. And now it's just Logic X.
But do you find it easier to work in person when you're both in the studio, or because
you know,
sometimes you can get your own ideas when you sit back home?
Very true. But a lot of times I find that everyone, part of being an artist is you second guess and you third guess and you quadruple guess yourself to the point where you're like, no, this is shit, and you trash it. And a lot of times it's not shit, it's just your own insecurities feeding into the track. And sometimes when you have someone else that's part of the production process, it helps a lot being like, this is great, we could lose that, let's add this, let's try this. So duos don't always work, but when you have two people that just musically, even if they come from two different backgrounds musically, if what they, you know, synthesize in the end is something that's, you know, harmonic together, I mean, that's essentially what you want. But believe me, we've been together since '07. There's been a lot of projects we didn't see eye to eye on that never saw release. There's been some projects we didn't see eye to eye on that did get released. So
I do think it's important for you guys to get together. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And like when we're together, yeah, the workflow is faster, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's always better, because sometimes just having that extra time where you listen to something the other person worked on and you can't comment on it right away, that span of time, even if it's just an hour or whatever, listening to it over and over, it kind of be like, well, actually, you know, my initial impression maybe wasn't right, and let me think about it, and blah, blah, blah. So just like life, sometimes you don't want to make the first gut reaction, sometimes you do.
Right,
So.
thank you.
Do you fight sometimes because of this stuff? Like,
I mean, he's got the bruises, not me.
yeah, right.
No,
you're not too bad.
yeah, we're all right. I mean, he deals with a lot more artists, so.
Yeah, but you don't, you know, you get on.
It doesn't
quite well.
get ugly.
No.
The claws don't come out.
Everyone's kind of on the same page, which is good, because you know sometimes.
The thing with Kale is because sometimes, and this is why it's important. I don't know how often you guys are going to shows, seeing other DJs play. I think seeing other DJs play and seeing what works in a club helps so much to drive what you helps build your confidence in what you know will work when you're working on a track. So Kale, because he doesn't DJ and he just stays in the studio, a lot of times he'll make these lovely things that are just very musical and very melodic, but in the club everyone would be like, what's going on here?
But I think that's where you complement each other quite well.
Exactly. So, you know, and then I come in and kind of like, you know, tailor it to make it fit. It's musical. We don't just make groove-based tech house like some tech house artists do. A lot of our stuff has a lot more melodies in it, but at the same time, they're still club tracks. So, at least that's what I'm hoping.
It is.
How do you perform live? I mean, what kind of equipment you're using to?
Now I use Tractor with a machine controller. Just going straight into the Pioneer mixer. I don't deal with time code, any of that stuff.
Okay.
I learned on vinyl back in 2002.
Yeah.
Spent way too much money on it. Couldn't carry it around. It was too fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Switched to CDs, switched to USBs, did the full evolution, and now Tractor's just so amazing, and jumping around with machine is just incredible for me.
Guys, anyone? But maybe interesting to know is also your tactic on programming Ibiza this year for Kave and for Pleasurecraft. Because we had that already, like with some other guests who some said like they stick onto one residency, and some others said
That's
that
niche.
I mean, for me, I think that Ibiza's one is kind of a market that is so important that it totally depends on who you are as an artist. I think you have things like Circo Loco that are so powerful in their branding and kind of what they do for artists that you kind of you have to stick by them, and you have to make sure that you kind of are playing there every week if you do have the opportunity and things like that, because they do so much for they can make and break artists worldwide easily, and they have done, and people have moved on, and they've got other people into their program, and they do it all the time. But then my kind of ideal way of kind of placing artists in Ibiza is I think that you need to kind of spread your wings a little bit and kind of touch base with a lot of markets. I work with every kind of major club on the island. If it's Ushuaia, Space, Amnesia, Boom, all of these, even down to like Mambo's and kind of stuff like that, and DC10. And I think that if you can, the best thing to do is to kind of do a little bit of everything, and then you kind of stay a bit independent for yourself. You don't kind of get too caught up in one kind of world, and you kind of get to reach a lot of people. So this year with Pleasurecraft, we're doing 2 for Defected, we're doing a few for Swara, we're doing 1 for Ants at Ushuaia, we're doing El Ro at Space. So yeah, we're kind of doing a lot of different things. But then, like I said, it totally depends on the artist. Totally depends with other artists. So with Nick, we're doing a residency at Ushuaia with our own brand, but he's also kind of playing with Carl this month and doing a couple of other things. So we try and spread out as much as we can, but at the same time, kind of be respectful to what people bring to the table. If they're bringing something that's a lot bigger than kind of something that's going to benefit you a lot in the long term, then why shouldn't you commit to it? But if it's just kind of a one-off booking, then I think it is a nice thing to be able to kind of get around the island a little bit, and it also puts your name on different billboards in different territories and kind of different lineups and things like that, which I kind of think is pretty important, especially younger artists. Developing artists, I think it's important to go out and do as much as you can to kind of get to where you feel happy, and then when you feel happy somewhere, kind of go down that route and take a different path. But yeah, that's kind of the approach we take on most things.
Questions to this one? Otherwise we go to barbecue.
Barbecue.
Yeah. Barbecue?
Barbecue sounds good.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Good luck, all of you.